people, your team, they're my family. I've always had that belief. I have a little saying in my team, it's one team, one dream. And the success that a restaurant, achieves is not off one person's back, it's off everyone's back that works in that restaurant.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. 3 Michelin stars. It's known the world over as the pinnacle of dining. Obtaining 3 Michelin stars is one thing, but holding on to them is something entirely different. After a year where the global pandemic rocked the restaurant industry to its core, what importance will be placed on these accolades? And what impact will the events of 2020 have on the finer end of dining? Matt Abay is the chef patron of restaurant Gordon Ramsay in London. Matt, how are you going?
Yeah, very well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us. You've had a hell of a year, but you've had some good news in the last week. How does that feel, receiving that sort of accolade given the year that we've had?
It's an amazing sense of achievement. Obviously, given the year that the world has gone through, and the difficulties and the adversities we've had to overcome. And for Restaurant Gordon Ramsay and for all those that have worked there in the past and the present, it's an amazing achievement to retain the 3rd Michelin star for what is now the 20th consecutive year, which is an amazing accolade in anyone's terms, let alone in the UK dining scene. And it's been an amazing opportunity for myself, having worked in the restaurant now. Coming up for we're nearly 13, 14 years at Restaurant Gordon Ramsay. It's been an amazing journey.
What sort of pressures are involved in holding on to something like that? Does it cross your mind as you're working every day? Is it something that you always aim for?
It's the pressures that are involved. I don't try to categorize those as a set target. The way I've, my whole journey of a chef, I've very much always fallen in love with fine dining restaurants throughout my career. And it's just something that I've always aspired to work in those environments. I love the buzz. I love the pressure. I love the finesse and the attention to detail that's given to each and every plate or each and every bite that a guest might receive. And as I tell my guys in the kitchen every day, we have the Michelin plaque that they award us each year. We have it proudly placed in the kitchen on the other side of the pass. That whilst we're on the pass working, we can kind of, it's there and we can look at it. I always tell my guys that we don't work for the plaque. The plaque is the reward of the hard work that we put in. It's the level of what we work to and how we work every day and that's the goals, that's the way that we work, and that's just a reward for achieving what we do on a day in day out basis. And it's a massive team effort. In the restaurant, we're a 45 seat restaurant and we employ 40 members of staff, so that's 20 of those are in the kitchen, and it's a very it's a small space, a very small, intimate dining space. Obviously, it's a restaurant in the heart of Chelsea and London, and square meterage we're not blessed with. Let's put it that way. So every little nook and cranny is used in that place to its best ability. And you're cramming. At any one time we're roughly got around about 30, 35 staff within the building operating, working together. So. It's a small, compact space, but it's very, very rewarding. And the upside of having that lovely, small, unique, intimate space is it allows us to always feel like we're always overseeing it. It's always easy to see that nothing gets hidden. There's no station around the corner, or there's no chefs around the corner or in another room that you can't kind of oversee and make sure everything's coming out to how it should be. So. It creates a great team dynamic.
Australia has been somewhat sheltered from the pandemic compared to other countries, and particularly like England and across the UK. What's it been like for the last year, especially for a restaurant that's at the finer end? It's not something that you can just switch to takeaway. What sort of impact has that had on sort of your role in the business over the last year?
Well, obviously, with the when we hit the first lockdown, it kind of well, we had a feeling it was coming because it wasn't like a literally super sudden moment in time. We as a business, Gordon, we made a decision that there was a point we were going to close, and then kind of the government literally flicked the switch the day before, so we closed, and it was just it was almost one of the most surreal moments of my life where we were getting ready to open up for the dinner service, and literally at that point in time we were told that we were to cease operation from that point on, and it was just it was a very surreal moment because no one actually knew for how long we had to shut up shop essentially, and it was just trying to keep the team positive and given the circumstances of we're about to enter a period of uncertainty that none of us, the world over, has faced before in this instance. And it was really kind of it was sad in a way of having to pack the restaurant down in the sense of having to get that deep in, and there is to be not one piece of food left in the building, and the length of cleaning and that. But as I said, the uncertainty of not knowing how long is this going to go on for. So it was I was extremely proud of my team when I sort of broke the news to them and told them what was happening. We completely gutted the kitchen and the front of house and packed it up and left it in a state that I was very happy with. And they did it within about 5 hours. And it was the bit that really caught me at the end was um, the front of house where we're in now. We've got a little downstairs sort of kitchen area where our fridges and freezers are, and the front of house we're in there with the chefs mucking in, kind of helping us get them all cleaned out, and then we said goodbye to everyone, but it was a very awkward kind of goodbye, see you soon moment. And it was literally just myself and my chefs left in the kitchen, and I tried to give them all a little. I had a little chat with all of them, and just said that obviously we're here. I'm here for them, and we don't know what we're going through. Obviously, none of us really know what we're about to go through. So if anyone ever needs anything, just reach out. And I was like, so I finished up my talk with the guys, and wished them all the best, and said we'll be in touch. And there was this like very weird air of linger. Like, I mean, after every day, every service, every evening, when I say goodbye to the team and they go home, they're out the door in they were out the door in seconds. But this time, they were just kind of everyone. We were all just stood in silence for about 2 minutes, just kind of with our knives in our hand and not really knowing what was about to unravel, I guess. And I mean, for us, I guess in a sense, it was it was nearly it was nearly 4 months the first lockdown went through, and I spent a lot of time, recipe writing and I guess forecasting for the business under scenario A, B, C, D, every scenario we could possibly imagine, and trying to figure out how we would, when we got the green light to go again, what the plan was essentially. And I made every plan for it, tried to make as many plans for every scenario, and obviously stay in touch with the team throughout. The great thing, well, I mean, not the great thing, but I guess an upside for us during that period of time is that it was the summer over here. And it was, I mean, London is an amazing place, but London in the summer is something to be cherished, in the sense of people's moods and their demeanor is something so different. But yeah, I think that summertime I just spent a lot of time reading, doing a bit of research myself. A lot of suppliers were very generous in trying to support the industry with sending out little bits and pieces to chefs, and trying to keep us going or keep us inspired, and that, which was really nice. But I ultimately turned my hand during the first lockdown. My wife is also a chef. She got involved with a charity, and then I started helping her as well, and we started producing meals out of a church kitchen for the healthcare workers and for homeless people. And that was like a little community because it was just a bunch of chefs that we got together, and we're doing sort of 300 meals a day, 5 days a week, um, which obviously passed the time and gave some sort of sense of purpose, I guess. But I really, during that period of time, I turned my attention a little bit selfishly in a sense, but towards myself, and just worked on trying to stay mentally alert and active. And I found that the best result for me was through fitness. And obviously, not being able to go to the gym, I turned to running, which uh, is a great form of exercise, but one I still don't enjoy. Um, but yeah, I used to just sort of go and run, 5 kilometers every day. And that just kind of, that half an hour just kind of gave me some time to, clear my head and, allow the creative thoughts for the reopening menu, essentially what that might look like and what we're going to do, and trying to make plans. And I mean, using the pandemic and the time that we've had closed allowed myself and my team as well to do a lot of time of thinking and reevaluating, which is time that we never, I mean, during a normal operating of business, you never have that amount of time to actually kind of sit back, take stock, think about, do we break the mold, do we change tact here, do we want to do things differently as in the business. So it was a positive time in that sense. Evaluating my approach with the team, and how we were going to do things moving forward. And it was a big change when we reopened, and we obviously had to change our business plan slightly. In the beginning, we opened a few less services, because obviously we were, uncertainty regarding demand and how the industry and was going to pick itself up again. But my team came back and they were very hungry, very focused. And it was actually amazing, even sometimes, like the amount of improvement I saw in some of the staff. And I think it was, again, just having some time off to also reflect themselves and to kind of get themselves into the right headspace, essentially.
You said earlier that you spent some time writing recipes and rethinking and reevaluating what you want to do in the restaurant. And Gordon Ramsay is arguably the most well-known chef on the planet. What's the role that he plays with you in regards to what that restaurant delivers on the floor and in the kitchen?
My relationship with Gordon in the restaurant, having worked, I mean, I've worked with Gordon since 2007, when I started with him, joined the team at Claridge's, and my role with Gordon in the last sort of 7 years has turned to um, a lot more of a mentorship, but also a great friendship. And when we talk about the business, um, we talk about the business together, and the ideas. I'm very fortunate, obviously, he allows me to construct the menu as I wish. And, he tries things and he gives his feedback. Um, but when he gives his feedback, construct positive or negative, it's never to be taken as, because I've now told you that this is not what I would do, it means you have to change it. It's allowed to, he still allows me to then take the final decision, essentially. And the way that we always work together, and discussions, like I might have an idea and then he has a kind of a counter idea or a variation of that, which then gives me more food for thought for my idea and process. And yeah, and at the end of the day, it's very much a collective, the way we operate and work, in the sense of he trusts me on the team that I require, and I explain a lot of those things to him. And obviously the way that we work and function, he very much allows me to act freely, but he knows that at the same time I'm going to act respectfully, and we share the same vision and the same goals for the restaurant. So It's an amazing opportunity. It's almost, I get to almost run this restaurant as if it's my own, but I've got this amazing level of support next to me he will never, with Gordon, the best part with Gordon is that he will never not let you fall, but he will try to steer you or guide you throughout the process. And if there's ever moments where you do fall or you have a problem, he's there to kind of help you, give you the tools to recover or to make the next decision, and how that obviously impacts, and that, and obviously, he has a big, large influence on my, professional life, and helping me, make the right decisions at certain times and to guide me. And as I said, like, it's very much this, it's almost having that second opinion, um, and sometimes supporting my justified decision, or then sometimes contradicting it, and then allowing me to then evolve that idea further. Or sometimes you just need to go back to the drawing board and relook at the whatever it is you're trying to achieve, whether it be a new dish, or you want to update the service, or you want to change the, everything in a business obviously has, a positive and negative ramifications. So it's all about how you garner that journey, I guess.
Can you give us a sense of what mat abe is on the plate? Perhaps a dish that has come out of this time to reflect and think about your food again. Is there a dish that you're particularly proud of at the moment that you've created recently?
I mean, I wouldn't say there's necessarily one specific dish, but what I have noticed is that my style of food, I've become, obviously, as I've grown as a chef, you grow with confidence, and when you have that higher level of confidence, I feel that you then can almost allow the food to very much simplify itself, and allow products to sing, to the guest and on the palate, in the sense of, I mean, I think I absolutely adore veal sweetbreads, and so we've got a lovely roasted veal sweetbread on the menu, which I then sort of change the garnish seasonally, to accompany that, and it's always very, I yeah, I always very. It's just a simple. It's just a lovely roasted glazed sweetbread on the plate with, say for instance, if it's spring garnish or spring and summer, I might have some crushed peas and broad beans with like baby radishes and some little artichokes, and then just some lovely little fine herbs and some spring flowers there that would obviously give a lovely, fresh impact of flavour. And then we serve that with a light veal sauce, which has been finished with a malt extract, and then some pickled mustard seeds to once again bring through some lovely high levels of acidity to kind of keep what essentially could be a heavy piece of product, a protein, and makes it very light and very fresh. And I always look for that balance on the plate. I am absolutely addicted to acidity, whether it be through the vinegars or citrus, or trying to create that harmony and balance in all my dishes, is something I really love. And using all pickles or ferments or things like that create that kind of lightness on the palate. Obviously, to go through a menu, whether it be a la carte or tasting.
You've spent the greater portion of your career in the UK, but it's hard to tell from the accent, but you are from Australia. Can you take us back to when you first got interested in food and how you got into the industry?
Yeah, I mean, food, growing up in Australia, I guess, having barbecues and entertaining and having people over was always a very big part of my family life as a kid. And I think my mum, uh, she had her little repertoire, as I think most mums do, and kind of have that little fortnight rotation of the classics of the house, I guess. And but we always, as a family, we did love to entertain and have people over. And I was very fortunate that my parents, encouraged us to try new things, and to uh, you know, my mum was very much, she liked to make things rather than always buy them, things out of a packet essentially, or things like that. So it was very much, um, through those moments in time. And I think also too, my grandparents, they both travelled quite a lot, in the later years of their life, and obviously garnered a lot of experience around the world and trying different things. And Australia is such an amazing multicultural country with so many different cultures bringing their cuisines to the world. Um, it was always such a lovely melting pot of different things to try and taste all the time, whether it be, you know, Chinese food, Malaysian, Sri Lankan, Indian. We had such, Greek, Turkish. There was always such an amazing amount of different things to try eat as a kid. And I think, yeah, my as a child, my whole my dream was, thought that maybe I'll be a chef one day when I grow up. Or my other passion was, I was sort of, very much considered about being in the defence forces. And when I look back at that now, I think it was the fact that I do love a sense of purpose and a sense of discipline, which is something I definitely find within the kitchen. We have a hierarchy, but there is a structure and there's an order into which we deliver everything each day, and we do certain tasks at certain times of the day, which gives a lovely level of basis and standard for everyone to operate from. And as a kid growing up, when I was doing my high school certificate, I chose hospitality as a subject, and part of that, to gain that certificate, I had to go out into the real world and do some work experience. And due to my surname, I was first off the list, and very early out of the year, I think it was about the March time, I actually went and did my work placement in my first year of year 11. Uh, and jokingly, I said to my mum on the first day when she picked me up, I was like, "Oh, I love this. It's amazing. The chef's going to give me a job." And my mum, as all mum, positively laughed and like, "Yeah, sure, son, no worries." And then it literally was the Friday afternoon after my first week of work placement. The executive chef called me into his office, which was quite a daunting thing at the age of 16, just turned, and sat me down and said, "Oh, have you thought about, being a chef as a career?" And then explained to me about going to TAFE and how that all works as an apprentice. And I was buzzing literally after that conversation. I jumped in the car, told my mum about it, and she was she was blown away by it. And was, of course, the first answer was, "Well, we'll talk to your dad about that tonight." Um, and when I told my dad, the first answer was, "No, you'll finish school." And then I pleaded with them, and they had contact of my school teacher, and called my school teacher up over the weekend, and she said to my parents, "Look, you know, let him go, and if it doesn't work out, he can always complete his higher school certificate and as an adult through college." And then it kind of escalated from there. So I went back to school for 1 week, and that was it. Then I left, which I liked school. I was a good student, but yeah, the cooking passion was just extremely fueled in my hunger right there. And as a kid, I used to love watching the Lifestyle Channel, and watching Neil Perry and those sorts of shows, and even Rick Stein or Keith Floyd, and those all those different elements of what food was starting to kind of kick off in Australia, I think. And then I started my apprenticeship at Epping RSL. Then I moved then to the Tattersalls Club in the city. So that basically filled up my first year, those two jobs. And then I was still yearning for more. I wanted more. And then the sous chef at the time, she found me. We got the paper back when you did that. Got the paper, looked through the job ads, and Aria was looking for apprentice chefs. So I applied for the job, got invited for the trial. It was a big kitchen, a lot of chefs. I was absolutely blown away by the day I spent there. And the head chef at the time, Simon Sandel, said to me, "Oh yeah, we'll give you a job, but we just haven't got a position for you right now." So I called twice a week for 6 weeks. Uh, and then they said, "All right, fine, you can come, you can come." Um, so yeah, at the time I was living in Cherrybrook in the hills, and then travelling to the city each day to work at Aria. My mum and dad supported me a lot through my early years of my career. My dad gave me a lift to work because he worked in the city, or would pick me up in the evening if I had an early finish on his way home and things like that. So they supported me a lot. They gave me a lot of financial support as well in the beginning. And yeah, I spent best part 4.5 years at Aria. And then then I, wanted another change. So then I then moved to Melbourne, and then got a job at Vidamon, which I worked at for 2 years. And then a lot of things came about, but a school friend of mine was getting married in Scotland. He'd asked me to be the best man at his wedding. And I'd heard all the stories from all the English chefs that I worked with in Australia, and the fact that I really wanted to, head to Europe and, see what all these restaurants were about. And having watched Boiling Point at that stage in my life, and my dad, as all dads are, cheekily said to me, he's like, "Oh, do you reckon you could work in that kitchen one day?" And I was, of course, 16 or 17, I think it was, being pretty cocky. I was like, "Yeah, of course, Dad. Yeah, yeah, one day." Um, and then, yeah, so then obviously I headed over to the UK on my work visa, attended my friend's wedding, had a couple of nice weeks in Scotland, and then literally moved to London and started working at Claridge's a week later after being in London. And then I was very lucky enough to get sponsored, to which then I had to go back to Australia to get my visa approved and that, and to which time I thought I had enough money saved to survive for a little while. But obviously the sponsorship took a little bit longer to come through. And Matt Moran very kindly took me back at Aria on a short-term kind of temporary basis, which was amazing. And it was amazing for me to get back into that kitchen again and sort of see how it had evolved in the 3 years that I had been away, in the sense. It was really, really amazing to see. And I worked with some amazing people. I mean, Matt's got a great talent of building great teams and very, very loyal staff. And then, I headed back over here. And as I said, I continued at Claridge's. I made it to sous chef at Claridge's. And then I wanted another challenge in my career. And Restaurant Gordon Ramsay was the next stop on that one. And that for me was probably one of the most challenging parts of my career to date, was the transition, going to Restaurant Gordon Ramsay. And it was literally night and day from anything I'd ever done before. The level of attention, the discipline, but I at the same time I yearned and craved for that. So it was the early years were not the easiest. They were very difficult. As chefs, long hours, high pressure, but I thrived on that environment. The kitchen, we were very fortunate because Restaurant Gordon Ramsay was only open. We only opened Monday to Friday, lunch and dinner, 10 services a week. We literally just ran with one team the whole time. So there was never the fear of coming in and your other teammate on your section had kind of run your mise en place down and left you to it, and you've got to pick it up for the next 2 days while they had their days off. It was very much everything relied on you and your section and how you manage that to get by. And then that's still a philosophy we have today. We still run today. We're open Tuesday to Saturday, but we still run 10 services. So it's very much a one team dynamic, which is an absolute amazing situation to be in, to run a kitchen, to know you've got that level of consistency from a chef each day, and you can also see when they're having a good day and a bad day at the same time, and how you can support them.
You've been at Restaurant Gordon Ramsay for well over a decade now. How much have you seen that restaurant change, and also the dining scene in London?
Well, the restaurant itself. Okay, so in the time I've been there, in 2013, we did a refurbishment of the dining space, and kind of very much modernized it. We're still maintaining a little bit of some Art Deco flair that we had in the building, and that kind of was a little kickstart when I was working under Claire Smith there. That the food kind of got a little kickstart, a little evolution at that period of time as well. And then Claire left in April 2016, and it was all upon my shoulders at that point. Then in 2018, we did a refurb on the kitchen, which Gordon allowed me to head up. Literally, I got to decide what we were going to have, how we're going to change, what we're going to do. We very much tried to open the kitchen up as much as we could. We couldn't move the walls as much as I wish we were able to, but we couldn't move the walls. But he very much just allowed me to create the space as to how I thought would best work in that environment. And basically, what we tried to do was just open up the kitchen as much as possible. There was nothing on the stove above hip height, so we could all see each other. It was made for a lot easier communication. And we went from a traditional old French suite full of gas that was literally like a burning inferno from the moment you walked in to the moment you walked out the door, to an electric kitchen. Um, but we, not induction, but we went to like in electric planches and that. So we've still got the heat and the power that we had from the gas to cook on. But it obviously is a lot more efficient heating and cooling down. And we got air conditioning in the kitchen, which was which was a dream, to say the least. Um, but yeah, I mean, the evolution of the restaurant never stands still. It's constantly evolving. It might be large things, it might be small things, but there's never a moment where we're stopped standing still. As I said, we did the refurb in the front of house in 2013. At the same time we did the kitchen, we replaced the chairs in the dining room, which again, I was very lucky that I actually kind of got to design the chair that I wanted to have, because that was the kind of demands or the thing we want. I mean, the restaurant is very personal. There's nothing in that restaurant that I can't tell you about. I can tell you why we chose that product or what it was there for, or why we chose that shape, or everything is very very detailed. We obviously we have get a lot of things custom made, but that's us. Having to work in such a small confined space is trying to always use that space as freely as best as possible. And obviously as I took over as a chef, my food evolved. It's taken time, but I was never in a rush. But it's just things have evolved, and we've gotten as you always you buy new crockery, you come up with new ideas, and things change and adapt. We just recently introduced a second tasting menu called the Carte Blanche, which basically is a menu that we tell the guest, it's this is what the menu cost is. Is there any dietaries? Other than that, the chef is going to cook for you. And it's a menu that allows myself and my team to literally act and do as we wish, in the sense of we might have five amazing game birds come in. That's 10 portions we can get out of those, and then after we run out of that, we're going to go on to a different bird or this, or it just allows us to be very free and to mix it up and to almost experiment, as we develop and evolve the food. And restaurant Gordon Ramsay's always trying, we're staying modernizing, in a sense, evolution. The lobster ravioli's been on the menu since Gordon had the aubergine in 1993, but we're every couple of years or every period of time, we have the confidence, we're evolving that, we're changing it slightly. It's still the core and the foundation of the dish is the same, it's just seasonal changes. Just before the last lockdown, I changed it to serving with some black truffle, and we went back to a classic lobster bisque. And it was just nice for the team as well to to kind of change up something that we do very religiously every day. But then, yeah, I mean, the dining scene in London in the last 10 years, oh my God, it has changed so much. There's obviously London has also been a very multicultural city, but there's been so many smaller restaurants popping up, particularly in places like Soho and that have literally just grabbed hold of the chef and their heritage, and now they're just cooking, some amazing Sri Lankan food, or places just specializing in dumplings or Thai food, like northern Thai food, or people are being very specific. And there's very much this kind of come in. It's a very cool, calm, casual environment. Quite quick turnaround. The food's just simply cooked. In a sense of almost what I feel sometimes. From what I remember Australia being like in certain places. But then, yeah, what I've noticed about the food, the rest of sort of fine dining restaurants, there has been a change toward. Obviously, everyone's trying to champion a lot more British produce. We've got some amazing produce over here in the UK. And I work with some amazing farmers, growers, suppliers, fishermen, and that. And everyone's working together to better the product, but also to respectfully use all the different items that we have, and to, you know, garner more towards what's in season all the time. And you know, it's been a really good journey to see how it's changing. You know, I work with so many different suppliers, you know, and it's very much it's a fun time when you get to, you know, work with, you know, that farmer, or the fisherman, or the butcher, or the, you know, anyone like that, and actually understand why your product is like this today and that yesterday, or what would make it better in the future for all of us, in a sense. And it's been a very exciting journey.
This period of time has been one to reflect and change things. What's important to you moving forward, both as a chef and also as a person?
Well, to me, moving forward is that I think the, you know, people, your team, they're my family. You know, I've always had that belief. You know, I have a little saying in my team: it's one team, one dream, and it's very much, you know, we are, the success that a restaurant, you know, achieves is not off one person's back. It's off everyone's back that works in that restaurant, from the, you know, the kitchen porter to the maitre d' to the chef to the commie to the runner to someone that polishes the glasses. Every person, you know, including our suppliers and, you know, the people that work, the extended family of a restaurant, is a massive, you know, what one restaurant supports is a massive part of the community. You know, and those, you know, those relationships are always key, I feel. And you know, I think that's obviously it's always a very important aspect to maintain with people all the time. And I think it's, from this situation that we've all been in, it's really opened my eyes to always, not always thinking about what I could change, but it's just about keeping that level of awareness, of considering that, you know, obviously anything is possible. And I think this situation, you know, the pandemic that everyone has been put in, has created every business to think and evolve, and having to pivot or adapt what they're doing or what they're offering. And it's allowed us to actually, you know, question the norm, which I think is you know, has been a real positive outcome on this side of it. So.
Well, Matt, congratulations on the 3 Stars Michelin. Again, 20 years is just extraordinary. And we really loved having you on Deep in the Weeds today. Please keep in touch, and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Thank you very much, Anthony. It's been a pleasure. And I hope, you know, as I said, 2021, I hope everyone recovers and we can all get back to doing what we love to do every day.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we share the stories of Australia's hospo community, suppliers and producers in search of hope during this pandemic. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.